I stopped here to... Ow!
So, a lot of the people who watch my channel are a similar age to me, in that they have watched Star Trek TNG was primarily their first, and that era of merchandising.
Merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made.
And that's what we're talking about today, merchandising, and the problem Star Trek seems to have with actually merchandising. So when I was a kid, and we're talking early 90s, right? So in regards to America, TNG started in 87. Pretty sure it started in 1990 in Australia. And we didn't get much. Well, that's a lie. We didn't get much other than the standard TNG figures. Now, I've mentioned in other videos before that cat hair everywhere. I've mentioned before that this is the first figure I got. This isn't the actual one. The actual one had an accident. And TNG was born from that merchandising, including, for me as a kid, seeing that spaceship and seeing that guy with his visor, seeing that got me intrigued. And when I saw the pilot for Star Trek The Next Generation encounter at Farpoint, I was instantly entranced by the future, by the touchscreen panels, by the special effects, by the characters, Worf, a big old Klingon. I was instantly transfixed by this. And what we had, and I imagine America had as well, but in Australia, was every shop that I went to, every store, Target, Kmart, even like Coles or Woolworths, which are grocery shops here, had a small section of Star Trek action figures or Star Trek playsets. It was truly sort of the golden age of merchandise. This is before Episode 1 of Star Wars, when that just went crazy. But what we saw in the early 90s was the release of some huge things. Now, merchandising shifted. Like, I've had models of the Enterprise, I have different eras, but as the TNG era went along and we got to Voyager and Deep Space Nine, of which I have figure representations here, we got figures for them too, but the line slowly started to die. Especially, and I don't know whether it happened in America or not, but certainly by the end of the 90s and the early 2000s, the last figures I saw for Star Trek were for Star Trek Nemesis. And they were big sort of figures. And I never purchased them because I'm a teenager and I don't buy dolls. But it really sort of drilled to me, but even back then, that I was like, oh, there's some Star Trek figures, I'm excited, because you didn't see them as much anymore. They weren't everywhere as much. We enter into the early 2000s, and this is when we got these cool box sets for Enterprise. I know we got similar ones for TNG and Voyager and Deep Space Nine, and then they went to standard cardboard shit. We got books, like mesh-ups between Star Trek The Next Generation and the X-Men. We got huge sort of amazing things in the 90s for Star Trek, and the 2000s was very much a decline. Now, with one caveat to that, the Star Trek 2009 film, which again, like, I went into shops and you started seeing action figures for the Kelvin films. You saw models for the Kelvin films. And not everywhere, but in the bigger department stores, they were there. And this is purely Australia. I don't know whether America, merchandise-wise, was like this. I don't know if they actually had a stop. So, in the last few years, probably in the last 7 or 8 years, the one absence I've found in every shop is anything Star Trek. You go to a bookshop, you might get a couple of books, generally around the new series. You get the occasional action figure, and I say action figure in like Toy World or Toys R Us or any other toy places, of which they have fabric and they just don't look right. I'll show you an example in the pictures. But what we do get is, like, we got the Enterprise NCC 1701 as a Playmates re-release. I think they got the D as a Playmates re-release. They re-released Playmates figures, but they were slightly lower quality. And I sort of wonder whether this is because the show's not as popular, but the older fans want merchandise. Because when you look at the merchandise throughout the Star Trek of this era, there's very little. And it seems to be primarily whenever they focus on Star Trek related merchandise, it's always on TNG. Like, you don't get re-releases of the DS9 or Voyager figures. You don't get re-releases of the DS9 or Voyager models or playsets. What we have is this constant sort of like, oh, let's release an Enterprise D model. Oh, let's release a TOS model. Oh, let's... Where are the Strange New Worlds models? Where are the Discovery models? Now, you may be saying, Travis, there are models. You can build them. I'm talking for kids, god damn it. Like, I don't know about you. I'm not a model maker. I did one TOS Enterprise model. And sure, it's fun. But all I keep thinking is when I was a kid, I saw these toys. Now, I need to point out that Star Trek Prodigy did release a line of figures, and that was for kids. But once again, lower quality, and Prodigy got cancelled after 2 seasons. Strange New Worlds, which is prime for action figures and toys, seems to have nothing almost. Discovery has a couple of Playmates releases, and once again, in Australia, finding these is almost impossible. Like, I have to go out of my way, an hour away, just to find Star Trek stuff. The closest stuff that I can find is generally model kits, and that's not really my thing. And Paramount seems really weird about this. Like, they keep releasing stuff, but why are they releasing Captain Picard's coffee mugs? Why are they releasing wine advent calendars? Like, I get that your fan base is older, but if you want to keep a franchise going, and it seems like they do, why aren't they trying to appeal to a younger market with the cool spaceships and with the cool characters? And all I can think of is that maybe they've sort of given up, and they know that the TNG era stuff sells, so they just keep making it. But it's not fun. It's I don't know how to describe it. So an example being, Blue Bricks, which is a company, lost the license to make Star Trek Lego-like stuff. And everyone's rumors now are, Lego, they'll be making actual Star Trek stuff. And that's the rumor, that they're going to make Star Trek stuff. And what's the first thing that they release? Well, they're rumored to be releasing is an Enterprise D fucking model. We don't need any more Enterprise D fucking models. Like, literally any other ship. I know the Blue Bricks line had a lot of other stuff, and they're Lego adjacent. But at least they were moving into different things. But why would you go back to Lego and the first thing you release be the TNG stuff? And 100% it's because the old fans are the ones they're catering to. And it blows my mind when you've got these modern Star Trek shows and you're still appealing to those 40-year-olds, my age guys, with the same stuff over and over again. It's really frustrating, and in Australia particularly frustrating, because I want to turn around and say that Paramount doesn't release action figures here, but they do. Ninja Turtles, owned by Paramount and stuff like that, tons of stuff. Transformers, tons of stuff. And the funny thing is when you look on lists of big franchises, Star Trek is up there. So why aren't they investing in action figures, toys, models with lights and sounds? And it seems like a really odd business model that they would do it this way. And my query is like, if they keep doing this the way they are, they're not going to really engage new fans because their shows aren't like that. And Strange New Worlds is clearly a family show, but they keep pushing that very same narrative of, we can't move past TNG. And it's just really weird. They just won't move past it. They like even Picard, the TV show, went back to TNG related stuff. Discovery, which even though it is largely new or slightly different takes on stuff, still went back to the TNG well. Strange New Worlds has yet to, but I certainly think some of the way they tell stories is like that. So why is there's this over fascination with supplying these older fans who were going to die? And this underrepresentation of the younger fans. And believe me, there is younger Star Trek fans. And there would be more if the merchandise was available. It really frustrates me. I know it frustrates a lot of people that they can't find merchandise, but in Australia, it is virtually impossible to find this merchandise. And I don't know how the Star Trek franchise makes money. Like, Kirk Cologne, Tiberius. You sure it smells okay? Oh, look, it's Kirk Star Trek related. It's not. But 40-year-old men will buy it to seem cool. This model, Locutus of Borg, Enterprise D, to be fair, this was early 2000s, but cool. And I just it makes me sad that I can't go out and just grab Star Trek stuff. Like, I have to hunt down pawn shops. Where did I get all this stuff? At a pawn shop for way more than what they're worth. These I bought originally for $144. Like, the money, the Star Trek fans have the money there. Why aren't they capitalizing on that for kids to buy or parents to buy their kids stuff? Anyways, what are your thoughts about Star Trek merchandising? I've been Trek Trav. This has been a table set up and it's very dusty, and I will see you next time.